Chapter 465, The Past and Present of the World. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. You practiced the scripture of Emperor Ming's Empyrean. Kong Laniu watched Zhang Yuochen with a pair of beautiful eyes, revealing a look of great anticipation. A storm of emotion surged through him. However, he appeared very calm, saying, "Predecessor, you're really a master. I can hide nothing from you. You should have already known the exercises I practiced. As far as I know, only 2 people in Kunlun's field have practiced the scripture of Emperor Ming's Empyrean. One was Emperor Ming, one of the 9 emperors 800 years ago. The other one was the son of Emperor Ming." She paused and carefully observed his subtle movements. "One of them has been missing for years and his life is uncertain. The other has been dead for 800 years. Zhang Yuochen, don't tell me that you learned the scripture of Emperor Ming's Empyrean by being awakened from the ancient abyss sword." Zhang Yuochen said firmly, "It's true." Since he had already made a decision, Zhang Yuochen would continue to hide the truth. He still needed time to verify several things. He did not want anybody to know his true identity before he found the answers. As long as he did not admit it, Kong Laniu could do nothing, even if she had some speculation. In fact, Kong Laniu could forcibly take away his memory with soul-finding technique to find out the truth. However, she was afraid that the man before her really did have an unusual relationship with the man 800 years ago. If she used soul-finding technique, his martial soul would be hurt with unrecoverable injuries. What should she do? As she contemplated, Zhang Yuochen began to practice. He closed his eyes and spared no effort in playing the scripture of Emperor Ming's Empyrean. His body was tightening up with 100,000 pores completely closed. His body became a space without leakage. Blue Sky Herb took effect in a very short period of time. All his blood vessels and meridians were affected by its potency, which gathered in the globula. Zhang Yuochen became clear-headed as if the door of wisdom had been opened. He could comprehend sword technique more than 10 times faster than before. The heart of the sword was in his chi pool. Zhang Yuochen's realm of sword technique enhanced considerably as he quickly practiced sword moves. With the help of Blue Sky Herb, I will certainly improve my realm of sword technique. Perhaps I will be able to withstand 10 movements from Kong Laniu tonight. He drove his spiritual power to the extreme and made every effort to comprehend the sword technique. He had to make the best use of this opportunity and avoid wasting the potency of Blue Sky Herb. My sword technique is from the heart, and my mind is clear. Go with the wind and move with the clouds. The sun and the moon have come out together and the universe is pervaded with sword technique. The 2 opposing principles of nature are contained in Tai Chi and all skills derived from one sword technique. In Zhang Yuochen's chi pool, a little white man held a light sword and stepped on genuine chi to display sword practice, leaving illusory images of sword technique in his mind. In an instant, he got a thorough understanding of difficult problems that he could not figure out before. The sword technique method merged from his mind and surged up as if it were flying out of his head. Suddenly, he widened his eyes and shot a sharp look. He quickly attacked in the direction opposite Kong Laniu. His hands shaped into a finger sword. Swish! Kong Laniu responded quickly. After he struck, she gained mastery by striking his wrists with the xiao. Zhang Yuochen rotated his wrists and quickly changed movements. He stood up and stretched his arms straight to her chest, with an invincible sword breath. Bang! Bang! They displayed movements quickly and fought fiercely. Every time they launched an attack, it was as if 2 swords were colliding. Zhang Yuochen attacked her from different perspectives. Sometimes he stood up and sometimes he sat down. Sometimes he even moved quickly around Bamboo Pavilion. Kong Laniu sat motionless as a statue, except for her constantly moving hands. After about 3 breaths, Zhang Yuochen was thrown out of Bamboo Pavilion after being struck by the xiao again. Zhang Yuochen sank his legs to keep his center of gravity. Then, he stood on his feet, so that he would not be too embarrassed. He rested one hand on his chest as if his body had been pierced by the xiao. He felt pain and exhaustion all over. However, he wasn't injured. It could be presumed that Kong Laniu exerted her strength secretly. You've withstood 13 movements. You really are a genius, Kong Laniu praised. Zhang Yuochen resisted the pain, saying, "It was your Blue Sky Herb. Without it, I wouldn't have made such rapid progress. Don't be so humble. It depends on the ability of a warrior, not just the herb. Although it's helpful, it's just a cup of tea. Kong Laniu stood up and clasped her hands behind her. She displayed an overwhelming spirit, saying proudly, Zhang Yuochen, are you interested in leaving the school of the martial market and becoming my apprentice? I can provide you the best cultivation environment, the best guidance, and the best panacea. I do not accept an apprentice easily. As expected, she really wants to set the course of my cultivation. Fortunately, she doesn't know my true identity. Otherwise, she would definitely take me away without hesitation. Zhang Yuochen thought to himself. Where you stood decided the way you thought. Kong Laniu thought that it was a gift for Zhang Yuochen to be accepted as her apprentice. Thank you for your kindness, he replied. I've decided to practice in the Saint Academy. Moreover, I've promised to take Headmaster Xuanji as my master. Kong Laniu nodded as if she already knew this. Elder Xuanji is one of top 3 sword saints in the eastern region. He's very powerful. It's good to apprentice with him. Since you've made your decision, I should leave and return to the middle region. Are you leaving? Zhang Yuochen said. Kong Laniu sighed. I came to the eastern region to meet you. Since you're not the person I'm looking for, I have no reason to stay here. 800 years. His bones have probably turned to ashes. But, I can't give up my obsession. I can't. You aren't him and you can't be him. Her voice sounded sad. She didn't seem like an infinitely powerful saint at all, but a delicate and passionate woman. Zhang Yuochen also felt upset. He was not sure if he was grieving for Kong Laniu's departure or the passage of time. After 800 years, Zhang Yuochen was no longer the person he had once been. Similarly, Kong Laniu had changed as well. Everything had changed. Time goes by quickly. Everything is always changing. In retrospect, all things turn to ashes. Only the green hills remain unchanged. You withstood 10 movements, so you should be at the intermediate stage of heart integrated into sword. As agreed upon, the half-saint mansion is your private estate now. When Kong Laniu stood up, she showed her slender and beautiful figure. She walked out of Bamboo Pavilion and was about to leave. Zhang Yuochen stared at her back. Finally, he could not help asking, I heard you mention many times the son of Emperor Ming 800 years ago. Did you know each other? Kong Laniu quivered and stopped, saying calmly, we more than knew each other. He's irreplaceable in my heart forever. But, I was not in his mind. He had an affection for another woman. I could only secretly watch them from afar. I watched them practice swords, play, and embrace under the moonlight. And because I secretly watched him from a distance, I saw him get killed by that woman in one strike. I rushed out desperately to stop it. But I was too late. I was helpless as I looked at him lying in his blood. Even though 800 years have passed, I can still remember the scene. Every time it flashes through my mind, I'm overwhelmed with sorrow. All of a sudden, we were forever separated from each other. Since then, my old friend has become a ghost. For some reason, Kong Laniu told the secret deep in her heart to a junior, whom she had only met twice. Perhaps, she was very lonely. For 800 years, she had had nobody to talk to, until she met Zhang Yuochen, and blurted out the thoughts that had been buried in her heart for 800 years. A long sigh came out in the air. When Zhang Yuochen heard this, his eyes grew moist with tears. He did not want to hide the truth. He wanted to tell her his true identity. He wanted to tell her that her old friend was not dead. However, when Zhang Yuochen fixed his eyes and looked over, she had already disappeared. He had no idea when she'd left the half-saint mansion. Zhang Yuochen rushed out and shouted with genuine chi, Laniu, Laniu. However, she had already left the East Region Saint City. She was 10,000 kilometers away and could not hear his shouting. All of a sudden, we were forever separated from each other. Since then, my old friend has become a ghost. Zhang Yuochen recited her words and closed his eyes. It was like he could feel her years of anguish. Zhang Yuochen had always treated Kong Laniu as a little sister. He had never known she had an affection for him. If Zhang Yuochen had known this before, he would not have hidden from her. He should not leave her in guilt, sorrow, and hatred. She should be happier. In the future, there will be opportunities to meet her again. For now, I need to practice harder. When my cultivation is stronger, I will be able to do more. He put away the complicated thoughts in his mind and thought about how he could improve his cultivation quickly. His enemy was the superior Empress Kaiyao. If he was not strong enough, he could not take revenge. After drinking the blue sky herb tea, he had improved in both sword technique and martial cultivation. He had subtly contacted the threshold of the final state of the heaven realm. If he could break through the final state of the heaven realm, his strength would be increased to a higher level. In that case, it would not be difficult for him to be ranked in the top 30 on the heaven board.